The biggest mistake a man can make when he wants to create attraction is trying to create attraction. You've seen it, and maybe you've even felt that cold wave of panic in your own chest. You see someone who sparks your interest, and suddenly every instinct screams that you have to do something. You have to think of the perfect line, make a bold gesture, or perform some elaborate social ritual to be noticed. But what almost always happens? The attempt feels forced. Your approach lands with the subtlety of a dropped anvil, and you're left with that hollow feeling of being perceived as just another guy who is, for lack of a better word, desperate. That ends today. What if I told you that the most powerful magnetic tension isn't built, but allowed to emerge? That it has nothing to do with what you say, and everything to do with how you manage the silent space between two people. Most men operate like clumsy construction workers, trying to build a bridge of attraction with heavy, obvious materials. I'm going to show you how to be an architect of the emotional atmosphere instead. You're going to learn how to create a subtle, magnetic pull that works beneath the surface of the conversation. A pull so natural and intriguing that she won't even consciously register what's happening. She'll just feel drawn to you. The promise of this video is simple. I'm going to give you a 3-minute, 3-step method to create palpable sexual tension without uttering a single pickup line. This isn't about cheap tricks or manipulative games. It's a masterclass in subliminal communication, rooted in the fundamentals of human psychology and social dynamics. You will learn to transform yourself from a man who actively seeks validation into a man who creates a space of intriguing possibility. By the end of our time together, you'll understand how to shift the energy in an interaction so completely that you are no longer the pursuer, but the one being pursued by her curiosity. This method is profoundly counterintuitive, which is exactly why it works. It's a calibrated sequence, where each step builds upon the last. The first minute is all about the eyes, but not in the way you think. The second minute is about mastering space, learning how proximity and retreat can be more powerful than any words you could ever speak. And the third minute involves a very specific kind of verbal ambiguity. But let me be clear, the real secret, the key that unlocks this entire dynamic, is a specific nonverbal signal she will give you. It's a signal 99% of men completely miss, and I'm going to show you not only how to see it, but exactly what to do when you do. So, make sure you stay for that. I'm Dr. Emma Madison, and I've spent my career in psychology focusing on the unspoken language of human connection. My authority doesn't just come from textbooks. It comes from a lifetime of being on the receiving end of these signals. As a woman, I can tell you that we experience the first few moments of an interaction on a completely different frequency than most men. We are masters of reading subtext, of feeling the intention behind the words. What often feels like a friendly, direct approach to a man can feel invasive or scripted to a woman. My goal here is to give you an insider's translation, to show you how to navigate that delicate initial dance with elegance and genuine confidence. This is a conversation I've had with men from all walks of life, and it's a universal challenge, a silent frustration that connects so many of you. It's a fascinating global dynamic. In fact, it helps me to know who I'm talking to, so drop a comment below and let me know what city or state in the US you're watching from. Seeing where this conversation is unfolding helps me tailor my insights even more. It reminds me that while the desire for connection is universal, the way we navigate it is deeply personal. Your story, your location, it's all part of this larger map of human interaction we are exploring here together. Ultimately, what we are discussing today is not manipulation. It is the art of emotional intelligence. Think of it as understanding the hidden physics of attraction. There are invisible forces at play in every human interaction: the pull of curiosity, the push of discomfort, the gravity of a shared glance. This 3-minute method isn't about forcing a result. It is about creating the perfect conditions for authentic attraction to take root. You're not learning how to trap her interest. You're learning how to create a space so intriguing, so free of pressure, that she feels an undeniable desire to step into it and discover more on her own terms. That, gentlemen, is the most powerful form of attraction there is. The biggest mistake a man can make when he wants to create attraction is trying to create attraction. You've seen it, and maybe you've even felt that cold wave of panic in your own chest. You see someone who sparks your interest, and suddenly every instinct screams that you have to do something. You have to think of the perfect line, make a bold gesture, or perform some elaborate social ritual to be noticed. But what almost always happens? The attempt feels forced, your approach lands with the subtlety of a dropped anvil, and you're left with that hollow feeling of being perceived as just another guy who is, for lack of a better word, desperate. That ends today. What if I told you that the most powerful magnetic tension isn't built, but allowed to emerge? That it has nothing to do with what you say, and everything to do with how you manage the silent space between two people. Most men operate like clumsy construction workers, trying to build a bridge of attraction with heavy, obvious materials. I'm going to show you how to be an architect of the emotional atmosphere instead. You're going to learn how to create a subtle, magnetic pull that works beneath the surface of the conversation, a pull so natural and intriguing that she won't even consciously register what's happening. She'll just feel drawn to you. But be warned, the most crucial part of this is not what you do, but how you interpret her response. Specifically, one signal that most men completely misread. I'll be revealing that later, and it's the key to everything. The promise of this video is simple. I'm going to give you a 3-minute, 3-step method to create palpable sexual tension without uttering a single pickup line. This isn't about cheap tricks or manipulative games. It's a masterclass in subliminal communication, rooted in the fundamentals of human psychology and social dynamics. You will learn to transform yourself from a man who actively seeks validation into a man who creates a space of intriguing possibility. By the end of our time together, you'll understand how to shift the energy in an interaction so completely that you are no longer the pursuer, but the one being pursued by her curiosity. This is about becoming the architect of the emotional atmosphere, not just another person in the room. This method is profoundly counterintuitive, which is exactly why it works. It's a calibrated sequence where each step builds upon the last. The first minute is all about the eyes, but not in the way you think. The second minute is about mastering space, learning how proximity and retreat can be more powerful than any words you could ever speak. And the third minute involves a very specific kind of verbal ambiguity. But let me be clear, the real secret, the key that unlocks this entire dynamic, is a specific nonverbal signal she will give you. It's a signal 99% of men completely miss, and I'm going to show you not only how to see it, but exactly what to do when you do. So make sure you stay for that. I'm Dr. Emma Madison, and I've spent my career in psychology focusing on the unspoken language of human connection. But my authority here isn't just from textbooks. It comes from a lifetime of being on the receiving end of these signals, of experiencing these exact moments. As a woman, I can tell you that we often process the first few moments of an interaction on a completely different frequency than most men. We are masters of subtext, of feeling the true intention behind the words, not just the words themselves. What often feels like a friendly, direct approach to a man can feel invasive, rehearsed, or lacking in genuine awareness to a woman. My goal here is to give you an insider's translation, to show you how to navigate that delicate initial dance with an elegance and confidence that feels authentic because it is authentic. To do that, you must first unlearn a critical mistake. Most men are conditioned to look for a single, definitive sign, a green light. They believe attraction is a switch that gets flipped. This is a fundamentally flawed reading of human interaction. A single glance is not an invitation. A polite smile is not a signal of deep interest. These are just isolated data points. True attraction, the kind that leads to palpable tension, is revealed in patterns. It's about the consistency of behavior over time, the context in which it occurs, and the emotional coherence of the entire exchange. Are the glances repeated? Does the body language shift and soften consistently in your presence? Does the conversation, however brief, carry an undercurrent of engaged curiosity? Stop looking for a single clue and start learning to read the entire story. Therefore, what we are discussing today is not manipulation. It is the art of emotional intelligence. Think of it as understanding the hidden physics of attraction. There are invisible forces at play in every human interaction: the pull of curiosity, the push of discomfort, the gravity of a shared, unspoken understanding. This 3-minute method isn't about forcing a result by following a rigid script. It is about creating the perfect conditions for authentic attraction to take root and flourish. You're not learning how to trap her interest. You're learning how to create an emotional and psychological space so intriguing, so free of the usual social pressure, that she feels an undeniable desire to step into it and discover more on her own terms. That, gentlemen, is the most powerful and lasting form of attraction there is. Let's begin with the first minute, which is dedicated entirely to the eyes. Forget everything you've heard about intense, unwavering stares. That's not confidence, it's predatory, and it triggers a woman's internal defense system immediately. Instead, your goal is to offer a glance that asks a question, rather than one that makes a statement. It's a look of gentle curiosity, not of overt assessment. When you first see her, allow your eyes to meet hers for just a moment, accompanied by a subtle, almost imperceptible smile that only involves the corners of your eyes. This isn't a performance, it's a quiet acknowledgement. It says, "I see you," not, "I want you." This initial soft ping approach is crucial because it bypasses her social alarms, making any subsequent interaction feel organic rather than premeditated. Now let's refine that glance into a specific, powerful technique. During a brief conversation or even a nonverbal exchange, you will employ what is known as the triangular gaze. Instead of locking onto her eyes, you allow your gaze to move softly in a triangle pattern, from one of her eyes to the other, and then briefly down to her mouth, and then back up to her eyes. This must be done slowly, naturally, and not last more than a few seconds. The psychological impact of this is immense. Looking from eye to eye is conversational. Briefly glancing at the mouth, however, is a deeply ingrained subconscious signal of attraction. It's intimate without being invasive. It introduces a flicker of romantic potential into the interaction without you having to say a single word. But here is the most critical component of this first minute, the part that demonstrates true social mastery and high value. Just as you feel the connection peak, right at the moment when the shared gaze feels most charged, you are the one who looks away first. Do it calmly, without hurry. Let your eyes drift to the side as if you've just remembered something, or simply turn your attention back to your drink or your surroundings. This move is profoundly counterintuitive, but it's pure psychological genius. It signals that you are not desperate for her approval. It subverts her expectation that you will cling to the connection, and in doing so, it creates a tiny, intriguing vacuum. You've opened a loop, and now her subconscious mind is compelled to wonder why you looked away. Now we enter the second minute, the mastery of space. This is the silent dance of proxemics, and it's where you can create an undeniable physical tension without a single touch. The common mistake men make is to immediately try to close any physical gap, which often feels like an invasion of personal space. Your goal is the opposite. It is to create a dynamic of approach and retreat that makes her hyper-aware of the space between you. You'll start by finding a plausible reason to momentarily enter her orbit. Perhaps you're at a bar and need to get to the counter, or in a bookstore and need to look at a book on a nearby shelf. The reason itself is irrelevant, as long as it's a natural part of the environment. As you perform this action, you will briefly and subtly close the distance between you, perhaps a little closer than is strictly necessary, but not so close as to be uncomfortable. This proximity should last for only a few seconds. In that moment, the air between you becomes charged. She is subconsciously aware of your physical presence in her personal bubble. Then, just as she registers this closeness, you execute the most important part of this step. You retreat. You take a step back, or turn away to continue your original task, re-establishing a comfortable distance. This small act of giving back the space you just took is incredibly powerful. It demonstrates social awareness and respect, but more importantly, it creates a subtle sense of loss, a pull. This push and pull dynamic within her personal space is what builds the silent tension. You approached, creating a momentary spike of physical awareness, and then you retreated, creating a small vacuum. Her subconscious mind registered the change in proximity, and now, with the space restored, it is left to process the event. It's a nonverbal question mark. This simple act, approaching for a plausible reason and then immediately retreating, has now made her think about you and the space you occupy in relation to her. It's no longer a static environment. It's a dynamic field of play where you've just demonstrated that you understand the rules of unspoken communication. You are not a bull in a china shop. You are a dancer, aware of every step. Having mastered the eyes and the space, you are now in the third and final minute before the crucial calibration phase. This minute is about verbal ambiguity. It's time to say something, but it will not be a compliment or a direct question. You are going to make a statement that is part observation and part personal interpretation. A sentence that can be taken as either completely innocent or deeply flirtatious. This is the art of creating an open loop in her mind. For instance, instead of saying, "I like your dress," which is a simple statement she can accept and forget, you might say, "That's an interesting choice of book. It says something about a person's character." This is not a direct compliment. It's an intriguing observation that invites her interpretation. Let's consider another example, like the one in the coffee shop. A generic compliment would be, "I like your order." An ambiguous statement would be, "You look like someone who knows the difference between a good coffee and a great one." See the difference? The first is a closed loop. The second is an open-ended observation about her character, disguised as a comment about coffee. It's playful, slightly personal, and creates a puzzle. Is he just being friendly, or is he flirting? This ambiguity is your greatest ally. It forces her mind to engage with you on a deeper level, to try and solve the mystery of your intention. While she's thinking about what you meant, she is, by definition, thinking about you. This is the essence of creating mental real estate. The power of the ambiguous statement is that it transfers the locus of control to her, but on your terms. You have created a conversational fork in the road. She can choose to take the safe, literal path. "Oh yeah, I just like this author." Or she can choose the more intriguing path and play along with the subtext. "And what do you think it says about my character?" Her response will tell you everything you need to know. By offering this ambiguity, you are not forcing an outcome. You are creating an opportunity for a more meaningful interaction to unfold. You've set the stage perfectly, using your eyes, your management of space, and now, a single, carefully crafted sentence. The tension is at its peak. But now we arrive at the most important moment of this entire process, the part I promised you would be the key to everything. The eyes, the space, the ambiguity, they are all just calculated invitations. The real art lies in reading the response. Most men are so focused on their own performance that they are completely blind to the subtle, crucial signals she is sending back. They are broadcasting a message but have no idea how to check if it's been received. This is where 99% of men fail, and where you will succeed. You must now shift from being an architect of the atmosphere to being a master interpreter of it. Your actions are complete. It's time to observe. So what are you looking for? You are not looking for a dramatic, Hollywood-style declaration of interest. You are looking for signs of reciprocity, of a subtle yes to the invitations you've offered. Did she hold your triangular gaze for a fraction of a second longer than socially required? When you retreated, did her body unconsciously lean even slightly into the space you just vacated as if to follow you? Did she mirror your body language, perhaps by picking up her own glass right after you did? These are the micro-expressions of engagement. They are the subconscious signals that her defense systems are down and her curiosity is piqued. She is, in her own quiet way, leaning into the space you've created. Her response to your ambiguous statement is the most telling clue of all. If she answers the question literally and briefly, with a polite but closed-off smile, that is your signal that the connection is not there. It is a neutral, polite no. However, if she smiles genuinely, if her eyes light up with playfulness, and she answers your ambiguity with her own, if she plays along, that is a definitive sign of interest. If she asks, "And what do you think it says about my character?" she has not only accepted your invitation, she has sent one back. She is willingly stepping into the frame you have built, intrigued to see what happens next. This is the green light you've been waiting for. But what if you don't receive these signals? What if her response is neutral or even cool? This is the final test of your confidence, and it's a test you must pass. If you read the signs and they indicate a lack of interest, your job is to disengage with absolute elegance. You give a simple, warm smile, a slight nod, and you turn your attention away completely, without a hint of disappointment or frustration. This is not a failure, it is a successful data collection. By retreating gracefully, you validate the entire premise of your approach. You prove, both to her and to yourself, that you were never desperate. You were simply exploring a possibility, and now that you have your answer, you move on, your confidence and value fully intact. Let's bring this down to earth with a concrete example. Imagine you're at a coffee shop. You see a woman reading a book that you recognize. The untrained man's instinct is to immediately use the book as a conversational sledgehammer. That's a great book. It's a dead-end statement. Now let's apply the method. Minute 1, you happen to catch her eye. You give that brief, soft glance of acknowledgement, maybe a tiny upturn of the lips, and then you calmly look away, back at your phone or out the window. You've planted a seed of awareness without any demand. Minute 2. You get up to get a napkin. Your path takes you briefly into her personal orbit. You don't pause or linger. You simply move through the space and then retreat. You've made your physical presence known and then immediately demonstrated you are not a threat. Minute 3. On your way back, as you pass, you say softly, "That author has a way of making you miss your stop on the train, doesn't he?" It's not a question that requires a long answer. It's an observation that creates an instant, shared world. It's a statement about the book, but it's really a statement about a shared experience. You've created an intimate, two-person world in the middle of a crowded coffee shop. Now, let's dissect the psychology of why so many men fail to read the room, even when they think they are succeeding. Most men operate on a literal binary feedback system. They see a smile and they think, "Green light." They get a one-word answer and think, "Red light." They completely miss the emotional texture. A woman's polite customer service smile is a social shield, a default setting to de-escalate and move through the world without friction. It is not an invitation. The signal is not the smile itself, but the change in the smile. After your ambiguous comment, does that polite shield drop? Do the corners of her eyes crinkle in a genuine Duchenne smile? Does her body, which was turned slightly away, now square up to you? The catastrophic error is to mistake the shield for an opening. The masterful reading is to notice the moment the shield is voluntarily lowered. You are not looking for a yes. You are looking for a shift from neutral polite to genuinely engaged. That subtle transition is the entire world. This entire method is built on a deep understanding of pressure and safety. A direct, overt approach, while sometimes lauded for its boldness, puts all the pressure on her. It forces her into a public, immediate decision about a stranger, and the safest answer for any woman in that situation is almost always no. You've cornered her. The 3-minute method, however, is an exercise in the opposite. You are constantly releasing pressure. By looking away first, you release the pressure of a sustained gaze. By retreating from her personal space, you release physical pressure and signal safety. By using an ambiguous statement, you give her complete control over the interaction. She can let the comment pass without consequence or choose to engage with the subtext. This continuous release of pressure is the ultimate display of confidence. It communicates that your self-worth is not tied to the outcome of this single interaction, which, paradoxically, makes you an infinitely more attractive person to interact with. Now, let's address the most common and dangerous error in this entire process, the trap of your own hope. It is absolutely critical that you understand this method is a diagnostic tool, not a magic spell. Its purpose is to gather accurate information, not to bend reality to your will. The most common mistake men make is falling victim to confirmation bias. You want her to be interested so badly that you will magnify any hint of a positive signal, while ignoring a mountain of evidence to the contrary. That polite smile becomes a secret invitation in your mind. Her brief, distracted glance becomes a sign of smoldering desire. You must resist this. The goal is not to find a yes. The goal is to find the truth. And you must be willing to accept that the truth might be no, or, more commonly, a polite, not interested. True confidence is not the certainty that she will like you. It is the certainty that you will be fine even if she doesn't. Equally important is to avoid the trap of absolute interpretations. You must become a student of context, not a collector of rules. A woman standing alone in a quiet corner of a party will react differently than a woman surrounded by a large group of friends. A moment of shared eye contact in a relaxed, intimate setting carries a different weight than one made in a bustling, chaotic environment. Her baseline personality is a crucial variable. Is she naturally warm and effusive with everyone, or is she more reserved? A smile from a naturally reserved person is a much stronger signal than a smile from a social butterfly. Stop looking for a universal playbook. There isn't one. The silence that follows your ambiguous comment might not be rejection. It might be her shyly processing what to say next. The key is not to decode a single action, but to read the entire pattern of behavior within its specific context. And so we arrive at the heart of the matter, the one piece of this puzzle that changes everything. All the steps, the glances, the management of space, the carefully chosen words, they are not, as you might think, designed to make her feel something. They are designed to prove to yourself that you are in control. The ultimate revelation is this: the tension she feels is not about you. It is the friction created by her own curiosity when she encounters a man who is genuinely indifferent to the outcome. It is a byproduct of her observing someone who is so grounded, so present, and so completely free from the need for her validation that he becomes a psychological anomaly. The techniques are simply a vehicle. The real method is the cultivation of your own internal freedom. The tension is not something you project onto her. It is what she feels when she comes into the orbit of a man who doesn't need anything from her, and therefore becomes irresistibly interesting. So now you see it. True attraction isn't a performance. It's the quiet confidence that comes from not needing a specific outcome. You've learned to read the subtle currents of interaction, to see the silent conversation happening just beneath the surface. But creating that palpable tension, as powerful as it is only the first half of the equation. The critical question remains: how do you gracefully transition from that charged silence into a real conversation without killing the magic? Answering that is the next level of this art, and it's what we explore in the very next video. From tension to talk, the first words that don't kill the vibe. Click on it now while this is all fresh in your mind, and let's complete the journey together.